I don't know a nice way to say this. Words have been devalued. These are the kind of words, well, even on the negative spectrum, right? Um, Words like friend, love, care, trust. But my favorite word, the word that I'm really serious about, the word queen, especially in the black community, right? Uh, Growing up, as you could imagine, I was kind of tomboyish, right? Still to a certain extent. Um, I used to roughhouse a lot, all that good stuff. Had a lot of male cousins. Had two brothers I grew up with. Had a lot of uncles. So naturally, I lived in a, male-oriented type structure, right? So I got to hear a lot of behind the scenes with how guys interacted with women, what they really thought. Like, if one of my male cousins had a girlfriend and he didn't really want to be with her, she just kept pushing it. Yeah, she a cool chick, but I really like her more as a friend, but I don't want to hurt her feelings. So it becomes this long drawn out of, oh, I'm with her because she with me. So that's a whole nother story, but that's just an example. So me not really dealing with girls growing up, I learned that girls, when they hear a certain word, they hear it differently than boys. With boys, I got to hear what they thought all the way until, we grew up, they're men, and now, they still talk a little similarly, but, they got the effects of the world on them, right? Well, anyway, this word queen, I want to dress that word down real good because last I checked, that was a word that defined royalty. Not only that, but it also defined what that woman's role was. Okay? I know a lot of people don't like listening to what their responsibilities and obligations are. They rather listen to privileges and entitlements, right? But as a queen, you're beholden to a king. Last I checked, a queen had a king. And if the queen didn't have a king, she was a princess. Somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, but I remember listening to the late, great Patrice O'Neal, how he was talking about how when a man is a prince and he come of age, he's a king. But a woman, when she's a princess, until she's married, she's still a princess. She could be a 44-year-old princess, right? That being said, cheapening the word queen is such an abomination because being a queen implies being a wife, which I know I've suffered a lot of backlash. Me talking about the role of a wife, me talking about the role of a husband. I'm not just talking about it. I'm not just chattering and yammering for clicks, views, and likes. I'm just sharing what I think, right? And I'm always open to correction. But, I will say this. Here in the United States, and I'm going to jump a lot, we do have like a lot of influence from the British Crown, naturally so, right? Because of our historical ties with the UK or whatever, Great Britain. Okay. Now, the late Queen Elizabeth, I don't remember if she was a second or third, but the queen who just passed, I noticed she was married to her husband and he was a prince. Prince Philip died a prince, right? Now, maybe that's where it's coming from. That's my theory, is that she became queen, but she never had a king. And over here in the United States, I do not believe that we are 100% independent from Britain. I think that we still have a lot of their influences, right? Had to check on my baby. She was coughing. She like me. She choke on her spit. Like, that's girl's TMI. Sorry, y'all. I always had them little commercial breaks because I got the kids. I got my babies. But anyway, so this was a weird situation where you had a queen and no king. But the way it's supposed to go, I know everybody is all big on their remixes, but these remixes ain't working. Like, the way that I thought about it was, okay, when I was a bachelorette, when I was single, right? There had to be an order for me to come under. And that's, now I have my husband and he has his structure. He has his way of things. Sure, everybody's got their opinion about our family, but at the end of the day, that's our family, right? You ever hear that expression, mind your own business? Business is like an alternative word for family. Mind your own family. There would be people, even in my blood family, that have an opinion on how my husband and I handle things, but at the end of the day, you can't say nothing to me about how my family is being run when you ain't even taking care of yours, right? No shade, no disrespect. This is just fact. If you got a man who has children in different households, that is not a family unless he is married to the mother of those children. Don't mean to be blunt, but those are practically breeding grounds. Like, just because you procreate, it doesn't make you a family. Anyone can procreate, right? But when you have a structure, a family structure, that's a completely different conversation. Not to veer off from that, but going back to this thing about being a queen, being royalty has a lot to do with divinity and structure. Marriage is a divine thing. It is not a worldly thing. Even though the world has its twist on it, marriage is a very serious thing. That's why oftentimes I be hearing women, like even some of my colleagues, long-term relationship, how come he's not thinking about marrying me? Because I think that men can understand a lot better what they're signing up for when they're tying themselves to a woman. For him to be naturally the king of his own castle, whether it's a shack or a shed or a mansion or a house or an apartment, he is still the head of that thing. And he has to figure out who he's gonna have helping him run that ship that he's rolling, right? He picks a princess to make his queen. Let's talk about names. His name is going to his kids. I know there are remixes. I'm just doing the basics. His children come from him into the woman. And that's another thing. If that woman don't belong to him, you're not his wife. At the end of the day, it was a good lay. No disrespect. But dudes, they have kids all the time. Women, we have such a tough responsibility. We have to be selective on who we lay with. It's serious. I know it's not fair. It's a lot of women who get upset when they hear a man be like, okay, you got the baby, but who cares? But that's fact. I mean, that's how it is. Like, I hate to say it, but that's how it is. Even being a good mom, there's a structure to it. There's a difference between a good mom who's a wife and a good mom who's single. Huge difference. At the end of the day, my husband got an answer for me. Because I have his name. These are just facts. When me and him were single and things went down, when we had issues or something, whatever happened, they were like, Miss, my last name, Miss Maiden. And then they start asking, your point of contacts, your emergency contacts, your parents, your father, your mother. That's where they go. Now that I'm married, anything happens, you know what they say? Where's your husband? That's royalty. There is a protocol there. There's no protocol to a chick that just have high self-esteem, or I would say overinflated self-worth, because I would call it high self-esteem, but the type of stuff that these chicks allow themselves to be subjected by, the type of guys who get to objectify them, I don't think that's high self-esteem at all. But that's a whole nother conversation. Like, as a queen, you gotta rule. My husband, he the king of his castle, but at the end of the day, I'm running this house. Like, he calls me, he gives me directives, and I give him instruction, and we got to rule these kids in this house together, whether we're getting along or not. I have other friends who are married, and when we as wives get on the line and talk to each other, we are talking about how to keep our families in order, whether we're happy or not. That is different than somebody who's just out here doing whatever. At any time you can peace out, walk away. That's cool, good on you, but I don't see the royal standard in that. I don't. I mean, I just don't. Like, there's no structure. Like, you can feel how you want to feel about yourself, but don't lie to yourself, ladies.